Hey friends, Dallas here with Privateer Press. Today, I'm going to show you a classical, but oft overlooked technique called zenithal priming. This will help you speed up the process of painting and get your army looking great and on the table in no time at all. So, let's get started. With the model already primed black, I'm going to use some P3 white primer and do a couple very quick bursts and just go around the miniature to create some contrast between the light and dark areas. With the general contrast established on our miniature, I now want to bring a final focus to the face and belly. This will bring up the highlight in these areas and gives me a much more dramatic effect when painted. So with our priming complete, you can see we have dramatic contrast between the white upper surfaces and the dark back and undersides. And this will help us establish some volume to our miniature with very quickly and easily with some very thin paints. So let's see how that looks. I'm going to start with some worm green, just using my old crusty brush to get my paint out. It's okay if I dip the ferrule of this guy. He's been pretty used up. I want a nice thin paint here so you can spill it out and you can kind of see how thin it is. This is very thin. You can add a drop of mixing medium for translucency. That seems pretty good. All right, loosen the brush. Let's apply this to the model. So I'm starting with the worm green because it's our brightest color, and I'll establish the highlight across the miniature. I'm working very fast. You can see over the white primer, it's very bright, very lively, but as you go over the dark black primer, it loses a lot and still stays very shadowy. So by using the thin translucent paint, it's very transparent. You're allowing the light, the white, to shine through, but you're also allowing the darkness to shine through from the black primer. You don't have to put this all over the dark side. I'm going to focus primarily on the light. We're going to just add another couple colors for shadow, so this color doesn't need to go over every square inch. All right, our worm green is dried, and now it's time to put on our first shade. And for this, I'm going to focus on these darker areas, but I am going to bring the color up into the recesses and shadowy parts. And that way the scales are all popped out and the little belly plates are all popped out. So we're going to use some Battle Just Green to establish our first shade. I kind of sometimes let this first shade more or less establish the base color, because this first layer is more of a highlight. And once again, I'm just going to make a thin paint that's translucent. So I'm going to apply this to the shadows. And you can see the shadowy area because of the black primer. So I'm kind of using that black and white primer as a roadmap to some extent for where I want my shadows and where I want my highlights. I'm just going to use a little 2-brush blend to blend that out over top of that area. Don't want it so concentrated there. Now with the worm green, we left a little bit of that black showing. With this color, you want this to cover all of the model. This is going to tie everything together. A little tassel worm. I really like this little guy. It's pretty adorable. And get between those belly plates. And don't worry if you mess up. Just blend it out. This is nice, fast technique, perfect for tabletop or board games like Widower's Wood, like what this guy's for. And getting your army out fast. A lot of times I like combining this with other traditional painting techniques. You can use this on any model, really. Warjacks, war beasts, warcasters, anything with the word war in it. This technique's great for war. So this is looking pretty good and pretty dramatic, but let's take it one step further with another shadow of some Crixbane base. Let's see how that looks. And this is just Crixbane base. I don't need a lot. And this is really going to help establish a lot of the definition and volume of our tassel worm here. We're just going to darken it where the shadows lie. So anywhere that's still dark from the black primer. I'm going to do a little 2-brush blendy. Nothing big, nothing major. Just put it in the deep areas, kind of blend it out all wishy-washy. so it's nice and thin, and just getting in those recesses and those nooks and crannies. And then just let it come up just a little bit into that upper surface. This side over here is very dark. That creates a very dramatic effect. I'll just bring that up just a little bit into those scales. Not being super precise right now. I'm just going to paint into these belly scales to define those. This stage is very much about refining. So that first layer was all about just establishing very broad color across the miniature. And then our second stage was bringing that in just a little bit. And then this is really refining that shadow. So I'm being a little more careful, being a little more precise, but at the same time I'm going very, very fast, being fairly loose. Let's put some shadow across the belly on this lower side. I'm just going to drag my blend brush across just like that. One quick swipe, breaks that across, and lets the paint flow into those little belly crevices. Let's do it one more time over here. Second blend brush and just drag it right across that edge. Very quick, very easy. And as you practice that two-brush blend, you really start to learn and understand how much you can do with it, and like all the little tips and tricks, like dragging. So I'm not really hard two-brush blending like I would in the studio or for a competition. As you practice, you learn like these little tricks you can get away with that might be a mistake on one model, but on a different technique, it works great. So one final step I want to do is add a little highlight to him with some texture. And just put a little texture on him. So I'm going to take some sickly skin and crusty brush that right into my worm green. I want this way bright actually. So I'm going to put some sickly skin over here and grab the worm green. There, that way we have more dramatic highlight. So this is going to be a little more precise work. I want to sharpen the point of my brush, get a nice line. And on this highlight side, I'm just going to very quickly add some little highlight dashes just to create a little more dramatic highlighting across that belly because it's so prominent, and it's where I kind of put the focus of the lighting. And wherever you focus your lighting, you want that to be accentuated. Just to indicate some scales catching light. Maybe here, kind of the upper triangle side of a scale where light would catch. I'm not going to do every scale. Just kind of want to give a little focus to the lit area, the accentuated highlighted side. And then as you can see, I didn't do any highlighting on this side. This side's more dark and dramatic. Let's add a little color to that squiggly crown of his. For that, I'm going to switch out my colors. Let's start with some Sanguine highlight. Once again, I'm starting with the highlight color. I'm not even going to pull this out of the pot. I'm just going to grab a bit of this, some water, because I don't need much. I'm just going to paint this right on his little squiggly crown. As you can see, the white shining through that helps it stand out. Little areas like this, like hair and stuff like that, a lot of times when you're painting with thin paint, it doesn't quite grip down in the crevices. So I want to make sure it's in the crevices, but I don't want it super thick. So I'll get down the crevices and then pull it out sometimes. And let's let that dry. All right, we're going to shade this down with some Sanguine base. And once again, I'm not going to use very much, so don't need to even pull it out. I'm just going to grab a little bit, fairly thin. We're going to start at the base of his hair, or whatever this is called. And I'll do a quick blend going toward the tips. And get between these back tentacles, tendrils, hair follicles, whatever these are called. I want to concentrate the dark toward the base of the crown. Just letting that white paint do its job. All right, one final shade. This will be a very minimal shade. I'm not using very much. I'm going to just take a couple dips of XL blue and mix it right into the Sanguine base. Make a rich purpley color. And I'm just going to use this to divide the skin from the crown. So very minimal, just like so. Maybe right in between, create some division lines on the tentacles. I keep calling them tentacles and I don't know why. And if we wanted to, we could grab our sickly skin again and add it to our highlight color. Just put some little highlights on the ends of our crown. Maybe draw a little line. So I'm just going to finish up his teeth, mouth, and eyes real quick and see how he stands at the end. With the details complete, we now have a quick and easy technique to get our models on the tabletop. And there you go, a super fast technique for painting awesome looking tabletop and board game miniatures. Join me next time when I show you how to get back in black. Thanks for watching, be sure to subscribe for more videos, and check out the links below for more in this series and additional information on the P3 hobby line.
Tony's definition of perfect is
One more time. One more time. Dallas. Perfect. One more time. Tony, one more time, Konachek.
Okay, one more for safety.
Are you serious? I did that twice already.
One more time.
Nope. No, we did that. We did that 3 times. I think 4 actually.
One more time. One more time.
This is bull. Who's your boss?
Nobody knows.